Hello, and welcome to the first of what I hope is a long series of videos on songwriting. I'm going to blast through in a little under 9 minutes on how I created this song. This song is called Kate, and I started off by finding this Chinese zither in our loop library and determining that it was in the key of A minor and F major. I decided to do an intro first by creating a counter melody on the piano. That counter melody you're hearing now, and you're seeing it scored on the screen, and it fit in with the Chinese zither. So the choice of doing the intro first was just an arbitrary decision to go that route. Sometimes you start chorus, sometimes you start bridge. In this case, it started with that initial intro. From there, I went on to the bridge. The bridge is, again, all of this at this point instrumental. You see words written below the staff. None of those were actually composed until after. And the chord changes on the top were, again, a result of looking at further into the loop library, finding more of the zither sounds that I liked, and determining that they were at this point in the key of C and D minor. From the bridge, I went on to the chorus. Often we'll start with the chorus, but in this case decided to do the chorus third, and it was in D minor, F, G sus to G. And again, it was all done instrumentally at this point. You're going to see this all get coupled in with the zither a little bit later on in the video. But at this point, as you can tell, it's just simply a melodic track with left-hand chording going on down below. I'm keeping in mind at this point probably the beginnings of what kind of an arrangement I'd like to see done with the tune. You know, what other instruments I'd like to have brought in. Finally, I finished off with the verse, and this is a bit of an odd way to go about it. But it was, again, for no reason other than just the immediacy of what was kind of going on. So the verse came last. So what's going to happen next is that you will see that, all of this is now being played out of time, and a really important step with getting your ideas down is to work with a click, or what I prefer to do, and you'll see it in a second here, is that I will go looking for a percussion track, which you're hearing there. And the percussion track keeps you in time. It allows you to locate your track inside the digital audio workstation and cement your edit point, so it makes it far easier to go back in and edit afterward. It also gives you the opportunity to change tempos, make it slower, make it faster. You can hear a bass line I've played on the bottom there, the zither on top. That's a blast stick pad played on the drums, which I prefer playing to over a click track, which I find to be a pretty sterile thing to be playing on top of. So I typically try to find some kind of a percussion track to play off of. Here you're hearing it evolve a little further. There's the grand piano added in. There's also a pizzicato string part playing on top of it. And you can see on the screen that the entire arrangement is starting to flesh out. It's getting bigger. We've gone from a single piano part out now to about 6 or 7 different things that are going on. There's a string pad in the background there as well. Next came the vocals. So obviously at this point, lyrics needed to be written.
I want you undressed.
The vocals, there are 10 tracks of them, and what I did was sang the entire piece 10 times and recorded each individual one. You'll notice the blackout is where it's muted, where it's lit is where it's all voices are being played together.
In the shadows.
So there are times when we go for harmonies and we add more than one track. Here we've got singing the same track and using the 2 tracks just to double it, just to beef up the vocal. Here's another 2 different takes here.
I can feel the word that you left on my heart,
and then it breaks into 6-part right here to make it bigger. also adding a little reverb and probably panning those voices. This is the chorus. Going for a harmony here. One thing I want to make sure is that it's understood that what I'm covering here is by no means a recipe for how to write a song. It's not the way that I write typically. It's just one way of getting into songwriting, and I'm showing you just that example. Kate, this is the finished song. You undress in the shadows. The audio quality is a lot better because this is the actual finished recording. I watch you undress in the shadows. And as you can see on the screen, there's an awful lot of this that is muted out. The process that I use there is I'm alone. I'll add a succession of parts, and I'll go back in afterward and start taking things out and try to get back to finding the song within the song. It's not always desirable to have it stacked and dense. There's times when you want a piece of music to breathe, and then that's where you go in and you take things out and give it those sections where it can quiet down a little bit there. So this is building. And if you let me, you won't regret the time. The pizzicato and the string, and then the piano kind of lends the percussion there. After this chorus, we go back to a verse, but I keep the pizzicato strings going just to keep that rhythmic energy going in the song. I like to think of a piece of music as being like a story, and it has a rising action and builds. Here you hear that pizzicato string. You don't want to necessarily go back to having this piece of music become, far less dense, because it can act as a bit of a letdown to the listeners. So once you build it, you want to sustain it, hold it up there. Was it all in my head, the sweet words that you said, and the times when we both felt so sure? And if you let me, you won't regret. Looking ahead, you're going to notice that there's a fade out at the end, and the tune does start to it doesn't have the density at the end. It kind of drops back to its original kind of soft and openness, so you'll hear that coming up. And this is the ending. I watch you undress. And that's it. A song written to try out the Reaper software that we're using. And I'll get on with some demoing some other tunes. Thanks.